Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The warship that broke all rules, defying blood and law. The lights in the command room of the UEF Defiance flickered as Captain Jack Walker stared at the message on his screen. His face grew pale. The ship's damage report scrolled beside the new orders, making what he was reading seem even more impossible. "They can't be serious," he whispered, running a hand through his short gray hair. The Defiance had barely escaped their last battle. Half the engines were dead, the hull had cracks in 3 sections, 22 crew members were in the medical bay, and now Earth Command wanted them to break through a Vorn blockade. Jack pressed the ship-wide comm button. "All senior officers to the command room now." 5 minutes later, the doors slid open. First Officer Lisa Miller entered first, her uniform neat despite the chaos of the past week. Behind her came Chief Engineer Tom Reed, his hands still black with engine grease, and Ship Doctor Anna Dav, looking tired after treating wounded crew for 12 hours straight. "Sit down," Jack said, pointing to the chairs around the central table. "We have new orders." The holographic display in the middle of the table lit up, showing a planet with 7 large Vorn warships surrounding it. "This is New Hope Colony," Jack explained. 3 days ago, a plague broke out there. It's killing hundreds each day. They need medical supplies, and the Vorn are blocking help. "Why?" Lisa said, leaning forward to study the enemy ships. "What do they gain from this?" Jack's jaw tightened. "They claim the colony broke some expansion treaty. They declared the planet under quarantine." "Quarantine?" Dr. Davis snorted. "They're just letting people die." "That's why we've been ordered to break through," Jack said. "We're the closest UEF ship." Tom laughed without humor. "Captain, we're in no shape for this. The Defiance is barely holding together. Those are battle-class Vorn ships. They'll tear us apart before we got close." "I know," Jack replied quietly. "Command knows too. They're calling it a necessary sacrifice." The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. "My brother is on that colony," Jack finally said, "along with 10,000 other humans. I'm not leaving them to die, but I'm not leading you all to certain death either." He pressed another button, and the display changed to show a small device. "What is that?" Lisa asked, leaning closer. "Project Blacklight," Jack answered. "Classified human tech. It was on this ship for testing when we left Earth." Tom's eyes widened. "I've heard rumors. This is the bioweapon." "Not exactly a weapon," Jack corrected. "It doesn't kill. It targets Vorn biology, specifically their sensory systems. It causes confusion, fear. Their ancestors were prey animals before they evolved intelligence. This triggers those old instincts." Dr. Davis looked troubled. "That's why it's illegal under the blood treaties. The Vorn consider biological manipulation a crime worse than murder." Jack nodded. "Under Vorn law, using this makes us blood criminals, not just war criminals. Something worse in their culture." "But it would get us through the blockade?" Lisa asked. "I believe so," Jack said. "Enough to deliver the medical supplies at least." Tom was checking something on his tablet. His face grew serious. "Captain, there's more. According to these specs, Blacklight permanently alters certain markers that the Vorn can detect. We'd be marked, not just our ship, but our actual DNA. The Vorn would hunt us forever." Jack stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars streaked by as the damaged Defiance limped through space. "I'm not ordering any of you to do this," he said without turning around. "I'll take a shuttle if I have to, but those colonists need help." Lisa joined him at the window. "How long have we served together, Jack?" 8 years, almost 9, he replied. "Then you should know we're not letting you go alone." She looked back at the others. "I'm in," Tom sighed dramatically. "The Defiance would fall apart without me anyway. I'm in." "Someone needs to deliver those medical supplies properly," Dr. Davis added. "Count me in." Jack turned to face his crew, his friends. "Once we do this, there's no going back. We'll be outlaws to both the Vorn and probably Earth too. The treaties are clear." "Some laws need breaking," Lisa said simply. Jack nodded, feeling both proud and scared. "Thank you. I'll speak to the rest of the crew. Anyone who wants to leave can take the escape pods to the mining station in Sector 7. No questions asked, no marks on their record." 3 hours later, Jack stood in the ship's main hall. All 93 remaining crew members had gathered. Not a single person had taken the escape pods. "We've all seen what the Vorn Empire does to planets they want," Jack began. "They find excuses. Treaties, regulations, quarantines. But it's all about expansion. They want New Hope's resources, and this plague gives them the perfect excuse to let humans die. He activated a screen showing the colony. We'll approach with minimal power. They'll think we're more damaged than we are. When we're in range, we'll activate blacklight and make our run through the gap it creates. What about the colonists? Someone asked. Will this affect them too? Jack shook his head. Blacklight only affects Vorn biology. But be clear. Once we use it, we're marked people. The Vorn believe in blood guilt. They'll hunt our families, our bloodlines. A young engineer raised her hand. Sir, I have a sister on Earth. I understand, Jack said softly. Last chance to leave. The engineer straightened her back. My sister would want me to save those colonists, sir. I'm staying. Jack looked at his crew with pride. Prepare for lightspeed exit in 30 minutes. Battle stations in 2 hours. Today, the Defiance will earn its name. As the crew dispersed, Lisa stayed behind. We're really doing this, she said. Jack nodded. Breaking every law, defying an empire. For the right reasons, she reminded him. Let's hope history remembers it that way. Jack replied, if we survive long enough for there to be a history. The Defiance turned toward New Hope Colony, its damaged hull creaking with the effort. Ahead lay 7 Vorn warships, a desperate colony, and the line between law and justice that they were about to cross. Jack Walker had been a rule follower his entire career, but today, rules would not save his brother or the colonists. Today, the Defiance would defy not just the Vorn, but the very laws that bound the galaxy together, and nothing would ever be the same again. Vorn blockade in visual range, Captain. Jack nodded at Lisa's report and leaned forward in his command chair. On the main screen, 7 massive Vorn ships floated in perfect formation around New Hope Colony. Their ships looked like giant smooth stones with glowing blue lines running across their hulls. Each one was 5 times bigger than the Defiance. All power to forward shields, Jack ordered. Keep us running dark. Tom's voice came through the comm system from the engine room. We're as dark as we can get, Captain, but they'll spot us soon enough. We just need to get close, Jack replied. Dr. Davis, report to the bridge. Minutes later, Anna Davis entered, carrying a small metal case. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed it on the command console. Project Blacklight is ready, she said. Then she lowered her voice. Captain, I've been studying the colony's medical reports. This isn't a natural plague. Jack turned to her. What do you mean? The disease has markers I've seen before in Vorn biological research files. Her eyes were hard. They released this plague themselves. A cold anger filled Jack's chest. They created the problem and blocked the solution. They want the planet, Lisa said, understanding dawning on her face. Kill the humans with disease, then move in after claiming they tried to help. Jack turned back to the view screen. Then we have even more reason to break through. Tom, how close do we need to be for maximum effect with blacklight? 5,000 kilometers should do it, Tom's voice replied. Current distance is 12,000 kilometers, Lisa reported. They've spotted us. Vorn ships are hailing. Ignore them, Jack ordered. All hands, brace for evasive maneuvers. The Defiance shuddered as the first warning shots from the Vorn ships passed near their hull. 9,000 kilometers, Lisa called out. Jack opened the metal case. Inside was a small silver device with a simple red button. It looked too ordinary to be something that would change their lives forever. 7,000 kilometers. The ship rocked violently as a Vorn energy beam grazed their shields. Shields at 60%, someone shouted. 6,000 kilometers. Another hit. The lights flickered, and emergency alarms began to wail. Shields at 40%. 5,500 kilometers. Jack's finger hovered over the button. Everyone remember, after this, there's no going back. We'll be blood criminals to the Vorn. Better criminals than dead, Lisa replied, gripping her console as another blast hit them. 5,000 kilometers, Captain. Jack pressed the button. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the silver device hummed and projected a signal pattern on the small screen. Waves of light pulsed in hypnotic rhythm. On the main view screen, the effect on the Vorn ships was immediate. Their perfect formation broke apart. 2 ships drifted sideways. Another began to spin slowly. It's working, Lisa exclaimed. The Vorn communication channels are filled with confused signals. Full power to engines, Jack ordered. Take us through the gap between those 2 ships. The Defiance surged forward, its damaged engines screaming with the effort. They passed between 2 massive Vorn vessels, whose weapons fired wildly into space, missing the human ship entirely. Then a blinding flash lit up the bridge as a stray shot hit them directly. Hull breach on Deck C, Lisa shouted over the alarms. Engineering reports major damage. Jack hit the comm button. Tom, status. No answer came. Tom, respond. The ship lurched sideways as another hit struck them. Jack fought to stay in his chair. We're past the blockade line, Lisa reported, but we took heavy damage. Jack stood up. Get us to the colony. I'm going to engineering. He ran through smoke-filled corridors, passing crew members putting out fires and sealing breaches. When he reached engineering, he found chaos. A support beam had fallen, and 3 crew members were lifting it off a 4th person. It was Tom, his face pale and his uniform soaked with blood. The reactor coolant system was going to blow. A young engineer explained as Jack knelt beside Tom. He manually locked it down. Tom's eyes fluttered open. Did we make it through? We did, Jack confirmed. Thanks to you. Tom grabbed Jack's arm with surprising strength. Listen, I modified blacklight before we used it. Added a signature. What kind of signature? Jack asked. The Vorn ships we affected. Tom coughed and blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. I marked them too. Before Jack could respond, his comm unit beeped. Captain to the bridge, urgent. Jack squeezed Tom's shoulder. Get him to medical, he ordered the others, then raced back to the bridge. When he arrived, Lisa pointed at the long-range scanner. A Vorn battle group is changing course to intercept us. At least 20 ships. The comm system crackled to life, and a deep voice filled the bridge. A Vorn face appeared on screen, gray skin, 4 yellow eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and a mouth filled with small, sharp teeth. Human vessel, the Vorn said in a cold voice. I am High Admiral Kren of the Vorn Empire. You have committed blood sacrilege against our kind. Your DNA is now marked for eternal cleansing. You and your bloodlines will be purged. No treaty, no law, no power in this galaxy will save you or your descendants from our vengeance. Jack stepped forward. This is Captain Walker of the UEF Defiance. Your empire created a plague to kill innocent colonists. We're bringing them medicine. If that makes us criminals in your eyes, so be it. Kren's 4 eyes narrowed. You do not understand what you have done, human. This is beyond politics or war. You have defiled our very being. And now you will learn the price. The transmission cut off. Lisa looked at Jack, her face grim. Sir, the Vorn communication channels are strange. Other Vorn factions are demanding explanations from the blockade ships. They're calling them blood-tainted and infected. Jack remembered Tom's words about marking the Vorn ships. What have we started? He whispered. The Defiance limped toward New Hope Colony, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from a dozen wounds in its hull. Behind them, a Vorn battle group was coming, not just to stop them, but to erase them from existence. And somewhere in the vastness of space, confused Vorn ships from the blockade were being treated as outcasts by their own kind, marked by the same technology that had turned the crew of the Defiance into the most wanted humans in the galaxy. The Defiance entered New Hope's atmosphere with a trail of fire behind it. Half its engines were dead, and the hull groaned with every small movement. In the command chair, Jack gripped the armrests as the ship shook violently. Landing in 30 seconds, Lisa called out, fighting with the controls. This won't be pretty, Captain. Jack activated the ship-wide comm. All hands, brace for rough landing. The colony came into view below them, a collection of white buildings surrounded by farm fields and forests. But something was wrong. Even from the air, Jack could see people lying in the streets. No one was moving to help them. The Defiance hit the ground hard, skidding across an empty field before coming to a stop. Emergency systems activated, putting out small fires that had started during the landing. Secure the ship, Jack ordered as he stood up. Dr. Davis, grab your medical team and the supplies. Let's move. 20 minutes later, Jack led a group of crew members toward the colony's main medical center. The streets were eerily quiet except for the sounds of coughing and crying coming from buildings. Bodies lay where they had fallen, too many for the remaining healthy colonists to move. It's worse than reported, Dr. Davis whispered, her face pale as they walked past a playground where 3 small bodies lay covered with blankets. Jack's heart hammered in his chest. We need to find my brother and the colony leader. The medical center was overflowing with sick people. Beds lined the hallways, and medical staff moved slowly between patients, their own faces showing signs of the disease. Who's in charge here? Jack called out. A tired-looking doctor approached them. I'm Dr. Park. Are you from Earth? Jack nodded. Captain Walker of the UEF Defiance. We broke through the Vorn blockade with medical supplies. Dr. Park's eyes widened. How did you manage that? We'll explain later, Jack said. First, these supplies need to be distributed, and I'm looking for Bill Walker, my brother. Dr. Park's face fell. Bill is alive, but you should come with me. He led Jack to a side room while Dr. Davis began organizing the distribution of medicine. On a bed in the corner lay a man who looked like an older version of Jack. His skin had a sickly red color, and his breathing was shallow. Bill, Jack whispered, moving to his brother's side. Bill's eyes opened slowly. Jack, is that really you? Jack knelt beside the bed. It's me. We brought medicine. You're going to be okay. Bill shook his head weakly. You shouldn't have come. The Vorn. They did this to us. We know, Jack said. Dr. Davis figured it out. Not just the disease, Bill whispered. They've been watching us for months. We found something in the old mines. Before Jack could ask more questions, Lisa's voice came through his comm unit. Captain, we got Vorn scout ships entering the atmosphere. 5 of them. Jack stood up. I have to go, Bill, but I'll be back. Bill grabbed his arm. Find James Hill, the colony governor. He has proof of what the Vorn have been doing. Jack squeezed his brother's hand, then ran back to where Dr. Davis was working. Vorn scouts are coming, he told her. Keep working on the cure. I'm taking the security team back to the ship. By the time Jack reached the Defiance, Tom was there, his chest bandaged but standing at attention with the rest of the crew. You should be resting, Jack said. Tom managed a weak smile. Not when we have company coming, Captain. The ship sensors showed 5 Vorn scout ships circling the colony. They hadn't attacked yet, but Jack knew it was only a matter of time. Power up what weapons we have left, he ordered, and find me Governor James Hill. An hour later, Jack sat in the colony's government building, looking at the evidence Governor Hill had collected. The gray-haired man pointed at screen after screen of data. We found ancient technology in the mines, Hill explained. Technology that affects sensory systems, similar to what you used against the Vorn blockade. Jack looked up in surprise. You know about blacklight? Hill nodded. Not by name, but we discovered the principles. That's why the Vorn targeted us. They've been systematically attacking any human colony that gets close to this kind of technology. But why? Lisa asked. She had joined them after securing the ship. Because it's the one thing that threatens their biological supremacy, Hill said. The Vorn have built their entire empire on the belief that their advanced senses make them superior to all other species. This technology levels the playing field. Jack thought about the Vorn battle group heading their way. Governor, how many people are left healthy enough to fight? Maybe 200, Hill replied grimly. Everyone else is sick or caring for the sick. Dr. Davis entered the room, looking exhausted but excited. Captain, I think we have something. We've been studying the blacklight technology, and there are similarities between how it affects Vorn biology and how their plague affects human cells. We might be able to create a counteragent. Jack felt a flicker of hope. How long? Hours, not days, she replied, but we'll need the colony's atmospheric processors to distribute it planet-wide. Hill looked concerned. Those same processors could be used to amplify your blacklight signal against the Vorn fleet when they arrive. Jack understood the problem immediately. They could save the colonists from the plague, or they could defend against the coming Vorn attack. Not both. Before he could respond, the building shook as an explosion sounded in the distance. Lisa checked her tablet. The Vorn scouts are attacking the outer farms. Jack made a quick decision. Dr. Davis, keep working on the cure. Lisa, come with me back to the Defiance. We need to send a message. A message? Lisa asked as they hurried through the streets. To whom? To every human settlement in range, Jack replied. The Vorn have been waging a secret war against us. It's time everyone knew. Back on the damaged ship, Jack stood in the communication room. Using the last of their power, he recorded a message explaining everything. The Vorn bioweapon, the technology they feared, and how Project Blacklight had allowed one damaged ship to break through their blockade. This information needs to reach Earth, he told Lisa as the message began transmitting on all frequencies. The Vorn aren't just enforcing treaties. They're eliminating any human colony that discovers technology that threatens them. Tom entered the room looking at a scanner. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up the main Vorn battle group. They'll be here in less than 12 hours. Jack looked at his loyal crew. then out the viewport of the colony where thousands of people, including his brother, were fighting to survive. Then we have 12 hours to prepare our last stand, he said quietly. 11 hours later, Jack stood at the colony's defense control center with Governor Hill, Lisa, and Tom. The large screen in front of them showed 25 Vorn warships entering the planet's orbit. At their center was a massive vessel twice the size of the others. High Admiral Kren's flagship, Lisa said, pointing at the largest ship, the Blood Purity. Fitting name, Tom muttered. Despite his injuries, he had refused to rest. A light flashed on the communication panel. Governor Hill looked at Jack. They're hailing us. Jack nodded. Put them through. The screen changed to show High Admiral Kren, his 4 yellow eyes seeming to burn with hatred as he looked at the humans. Captain Walker, Kren said, his voice deep and cold. Your actions have disturbed the natural order of our galaxy. Your empire created a plague to kill innocent people, Jack replied. We brought medicine. Who really disturbed the natural order? Kren's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. I offer you terms, human. Surrender yourself and your crew for blood purification, and this colony will be spared.